Welcome to the channel. It's good to be back with another video. For those of you that are here for the first time, please like and subscribe. I can't do this without your guys' help, and I appreciate all your comments, feedback, and input. For those of you that are returning, some of you may have seen me dressed up as Darth Vader a couple of months ago. I'm going to go into great detail on that costume. I'll go ahead and place a link up here. We're going to do a deep dive today, and I'm going to talk to you about all the pieces, the components, how much it costs for me to buy them or to build them myself. Now, disclaimer, this is not a screen accurate Darth Vader by any means. It's also not 501st approved. However, if you're in a pinch, you have very little time, you have to scramble and get one of these costumes ready, this is a passable option for any event or costume party. Now, I started on this rather large project back in 2019. I worked at a science museum and they were always having after-hour events, and when the Star Wars theme rolled around, I got to be Darth Vader. I had no idea what I was doing or what I was getting myself into, but I guess it kind of worked out. I was limited on time, so I had to go out and buy a decent helmet, and I added a cheap costume that I could repurpose parts from. After a pair of boots and a small device for that trademark Darth Vader breathing sound, the costume was complete for that very first event. I've made several upgrades to a lot of components since then, so let's take a close look at each one of those pieces. This is the Ruby's helmet, not to be confused with the original Black Series. When I purchased this one, I was a little short on time and budget, and I still had to buy one to make my costume look convincing. So for the price, this officially licensed product, it's a Empire Strikes Back version, felt like the best option. There are other places or vendors you can buy these from. EFX, Dawn Post. I'd probably go with Jazzwares or the new Black Series. But this one here comes in two pieces. You can see the dome detaches. It is affixed with Velcro to the mask. The drawbacks on this one is the dome itself is not entirely accurate, even here on the brow, but definitely on one of the sides it's a little warped. Also, the dome sits really high on that mask, so the sides and the rear do not come down as low as they do in the movies. And also the top, the crown part of this dome is a little too high, and these ridges are not entirely accurate. If we look at the face mask, again, this top part I would probably shave down if I was going to try to fix it. Also, I did have some heat damage on the side, on this bottom neck. It flared out a little too much, and I was thinking about putting a back piece on. But what I did do was add some dark vinyl to the inside of these lenses. So when you look inside, you can see they're fixed on the inside. Also with the balaclava, no one can see through the grill of the face, or excuse me, the mouthpiece. It also has this nylon strap that you can use to affix it to your head. And at the time I thought this was the best option, but if I had to do over again, I would probably go with Jazzwares or the new Black Series. So the first rule of the Darth Vader costume is that you have to wear something comfortable underneath. This thing gets insanely hot. You'll start sweating before you even finish putting it on. So again, make sure you're wearing something comfortable underneath. Probably gonna have to take a couple of breaks if you are trooping or going out for any event. Again, this is something, it's not screen accurate, but it is passable for any type of event. The last one that I did was for a Halloween kind of, not really celebration, but employees got to bring their children to our office, and I thought it was a wonderful opportunity to dress up and give some photo ops for some families. So again, dress comfortably. I'm gonna go ahead and take my mic off for the rest of this dress up or suit up, and I'll be voicing over. So what I did want to go over before I did that was I'll be running this respirator down the sleeve before I zip it up. I just want to let you guys hear what that sounds like. So again, I run that down the sleeve. I can control the trigger with my hand, and then I will have the microphone, or excuse me, the amplifier speaker will be up inside my helmet. It'll be secured against my cheek with the balaclava. So I'll go ahead, cut off the mic. When you see me back here in the transition, you'll notice I'll be a little bit taller because I have the lifts and the padded inserts in my boots. So we'll go ahead and get started. So here's a close-up of our respirator. Again, this is where our batteries are. There are two small pill-sized batteries, as well as I believe there's some AAAs in there. And when it comes to batteries, I just get the cheap ones from Harbor Freight. They seem to do the job, especially on some things I'm not going to be using on a regular basis. But you'll go ahead and just unscrew that, put your batteries in there, and then once they are both in place, you can go ahead and depress the button, just like we saw on the previous video. This piece also has a small piece of Velcro on it. However, that was not attached to anything inside the helmet. I just slipped this piece down inside the balaclava before I put on the helmet. One of the costumes I was looking into purchasing at the time had boots. However, I did find an online vendor where I was able to find this affordable pair. They're called the Captain. They're made out of vinyl, and they have a thick sole and a lot of extra room. I did get a larger size, and that allows me to insert a 10mm piece of foam. Again, the added height is needed. I'm only 6'1", and the extra sole and the padding helps out. A word of caution though, these boots are made out of vinyl. They will break down over time, just like the suit. So if you're looking for longevity, you may want to buy a higher quality leather boot. But this pair was the best option for me at the time. We'll move on to the additional pieces that we're going to need to complete our costume. This is the bodysuit. It is a one-piece bodysuit. It came with an all-included kit. So for this particular event back in 2019, I went ahead and wanted to get a kit that had everything that I needed. It's a zip-up, you'll notice here. I added some strings to it to keep the sleeve completely extended. I've also added some Velcro to keep the glove covering the entire wrist area. This is made of vinyl, so you'll see that it will break down over time. This has been about 6 years, but it has been used a couple of times during that 6 years. It came with some additional stuff, some vinyl pieces, or kind of very cheap soft pieces for the chest box, the belt. Had some pretty much just garbage pieces that went over the shoulders and the cod pieces and the boots. So I changed those out after the first event. But again, this definitely did the job for that first event, but this is pretty much the only thing that's left over from that kit. And since that initial event, I've gone ahead and made some modifications and alterations to the suit. I've taken in the sides. I've also taken in the inside of the legs. And I did that all whenever I added the Velcro piece as well as the strap to keep my sleeve extended. These are the shin guards that I made. They're made out of cardboard, and I put two pieces of cardboard together, covered them with shellac, a few layers of shellac, spray painted black gloss over some primer. I used some screws to affix that to these very cheap soccer shin guards. And this Velcro here goes around the outside of the boots, keeping them in place, securing them. Again, made out of cardboard. I didn't have a lot of time to make something out of fiberglass the way I wanted, but the shellac put just enough hardness on this so that we could put the primer and gloss black paint over. And most folks aren't close enough to see these, but they give you a little bit of a shine, much more than you would get from just having the boots. So now we have our jumpsuit on, it's zipped up, we have our shin guards over our boots, and we're going to go ahead and move forward and get the cod piece connected. Now we have the cod piece. This was a piece of foam that I went ahead and wrapped inside of a fake leather. So taped up the back. Pretty generic. I even put these small belt loops there so I could run a belt to keep this in place on the cod piece of the costume itself. Most folks won't get close enough to even see these edges. They'll be covered by our they'll be covered by the robes. But again, this was as accurate as we could get this piece, substituting for that very, very cheap vinyl piece that came with the original costume. So we have our cod piece in place over our jumpsuit. Now we'll move into the chest box. So here we have the chest box. This is a molded piece. I thought about perhaps building one of these from scratch, but when I started pricing many of the parts that were needed to make it as screen accurate as possible, I wound up realizing really quickly that this was going to cost much more than just going ahead and ordering one from a producer online. So again, this is not screen accurate, but it will do. And you can see, compared to the actual size of the chest box, it is slightly smaller. But again, I did not want to spend a lot of time trying to build something from scratch to get it screen accurate, because I was pressed for time. But again, you can see here it's molded. It has some thin straps to it. Screen accurate probably would be leather straps, but these will get you through. And then on the back here is a compartment that houses the light. So here you go ahead and turn that on, LED lights, and then it will shine through the lenses. There's also a belt component to this. Once again, not entirely screen accurate. You can see these boxes for the belt. If they were going to be just like what was on screen, these would be significantly larger, but this will get through in a pinch. And for the price, I believe it was right, especially when I only had about 2 weeks to get it done. Same thing here on the back. You'll notice the belt goes all the way through, but there's also a place where you can hide the lighting, and that will come through the lenses as well. You might have to hide these or tuck these LCDs away just so that they don't come up right on the lens, but it will at least provide something that looks a little more closer to the screen than not having lights at all. Now we have the chest box centered in the center of the jumpsuit. This is the cloak and inner robe for the costume. These were purchased separately. You'll notice the cloak is significantly darker and less shiny than the inner robe. But it ties at the collar. And what I'll do with the hood on the cloak is, once I have it on, I'll go ahead and tuck that into the inside, and it's not noticeable when you put the armor on. And this cloak I liked much more than the original cape, which was made of the same shiny material, and it had some snaps. Didn't really cover the shoulder significantly enough to be screen accurate, where Darth Vader has that shoulder armor in place. This cloak will drape over, and as you'll see in the suit up video, it sits a lot better on the shoulder armor. We'll go ahead and don the inner robe. This is a thinner synthetic material. It's rather shiny. It's not the wool like the original costume in the Star Wars series. But we'll put this on first before we get to the belt. I had to adjust this as well. It was dragging on the ground a little bit, so I had to take in the seam. But you can see here the belt gets placed over the robe, and then you want to line up the edges of the robe with that inside edge of the belt box. And once that's lined up, you'll go ahead and start gathering your material, putting some pleats in it, and that will give you that wide look, that V look for the Vader. And then here we have that cloak. It's tied at the neck. I like this version also because the cape is probably the equivalent of a 3/4 cape, so it will cover the shoulders. Here's the shoulder armor in pauldrons. They're both made with 10mm foam, but I sealed the pauldrons with Mod Podge, and the shoulder armor has polyester resin and fiberglass chop strand. The pauldrons add the needed width to the shoulders, and they're held in place with shoelaces. And you can see here on the front, I do have some chips in the black and gunmetal spray paint. So if I were to continue using this costume, I'd probably go back and make a new version of this piece, but it served its purpose well, and it was much better than the cheap vinyl pieces that came with the original costume. And now we'll go ahead and put the shoulder armor and the pauldrons underneath the cape. And like I said, this 3/4 cape covers the shoulders well, and it looks as close as we can get to being screen accurate. Now we have the gloves for our costume. These were an extra set just because I didn't like the gloves that came with the original. what I had to do was sew a piece of Velcro on the inside of this. Let's see, it's much better on this other glove. But I sewed that there, and this Velcro will attach to the Velcro that's on the sleeve of the costume. And this will prevent the glove from rolling down. It's kind of unsightly when you're out trying to shake hands with people or wave, and your glove is rolling down. So this Velcro keeps it in place. Now we go ahead and put the gloves on over our sleeves. You want to tuck the jumpsuit sleeves down inside. You'll notice the string is around my thumbs. Again, it just makes it look a lot better, especially if you're going to be wearing this for a couple of hours. Now we'll go ahead and don the Darth Vader helmet, and we are almost complete with this suit up. There we have it, my budget Darth Vader build that was not too budget friendly. Now, I didn't spend the $2,500 or $5,000 that folks used to spend years ago. I watched videos all over YouTube of folks doing suit-ups, talking about all of their great costumes. They're 501st approved. They're a really screen accurate, depending on whether it's Star Wars, ESB, or Return of the Jedi. So again, my costume was not that detailed, but you can see I spent a lot of money just trying to get these pieces together. If I had it to do over again, I would probably use the Jazzwares, maybe Jazzwares. I know there's a deluxe, I believe, or a new Black Series helmet that's kind of accurate, but there's a Jazzwares costume complete kit that's about $1,100. So it's screen accurate, and I'm not sure if it's 501st approved, but it is again much better as far as trying to have a Darth Vader that looks just like he did on the movie screen. So I'm going to wrap up this Darth Vader video. Probably be boxing it up. I don't know if I'll be putting it on anytime soon. I'll be headed back to doing my Mandalorian Mercs costume build. You guys can see here where we left off. We were doing the armor build as well as the pouches. So I've got all the pouches ready to go. I'll be moving on to the girth belt as well as the codpiece, knee armor, and back plates. So got a little bit of things to do yet, but I've also got some other things around the house that I'm going to have to take care of, a catio as well as a home shelving unit. So I'll be really busy the next couple weekends, but I'll try to keep you guys posted and post as many videos as I can. So thanks again. I appreciate you guys' patience, following me, liking, subscribing, as well as giving me comments. So if you haven't liked and subscribed already, go ahead and do so, and I'll see you guys in the next video.